How am I ever going to get in there? So last week I had a survey done on the boat. It was for insurance purposes, and there is some good news and some bad news. Nothing major, however, some stuff that does kind of need attention before the boat goes back into the water. Good news, I'll start with the good news because it's always good to have the good news first. The good news is that the hull, which I thought might need to have some osmosis treatment on, based on the moisture readings from the moisture meter that they use, typically, has actually come back quite good, which I kind of expected in a way, because the boat had been out of the water for quite a long period of time, and the previous survey report from 10 years ago did say that the boat had had some treatment work recently done. So I was reasonably confident that there wasn't going to need to be any major work done, but to see it actually generally in good condition is a relief, to be fair. So the bad news is there was, obviously you always find your sort of small bits that you need to do. One of them was the fire extinguisher requirement, so I need to up my game with that. So I've bought another fire extinguisher which I'm going to put in today, and then there's a few bits around the engine. The prop shaft seal needs a look at. There's some hoses, some coolant hoses which are sort of showing some light signs of abrasion, where they've been rubbed up against sort of bits of metal and stuff. But the two big things are that there was a crack found just sort of along the sort of the boom underneath from the gooseneck fitting, and that has rendered the boom unserviceable and requiring a replacement. It's nearly 1,200 quid for a new boom, and I don't have the money for that right now. So I'm going to try and repair it while I look for a second-hand one. The second thing is that there's some leakage, some water sort of noticed coming from the lower part of the rudder, where the shoebox fitting is, and they've sort of noticed that there was some play with the rudder as it sort of rotates around the sort of shoe fitting, if you like. So that's something else I need to look at. The only issue with the boat is currently sat slightly on the shoe where the rudder is sort of mounted onto. So the only way I'm going to be able to work on that is if the boat is shifted literally about an inch further aft on the block. So I need to speak to the boatyard about the possibility of moving that back a little bit, so I can remove the shoe, remove the sort of bearing, if you like, on the bottom of the rudder, and then have a look at it and see what needs to be done. So those are the two major things. Obviously cosmetic stuff was picked up, the deck still needs doing, but apart from that, that was it. There was literally just a few bits around the engine which I'm going to have a look at today. The only issue is there is no access to the back end of this engine whatsoever. I'm just trying to figure it out now. This is where my engine is mounted, and the prop shaft seal is stuck in right around the back there. Really good spots from the surveyor. This hose here off the water pump, the raw water pump, it just runs down and onto this metal spot, and it was just, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a, look at that, look. There's also a hose, an exhaust hose, which needs replacing. It's got corroded cores. So I've got to crawl in that gap. I've tried crawling in through the locker hatches, there and there, but no chance. So I think the easiest way is to get in this side of the engine. Now that side, I thought it'd be the easier option, but there's the sort of main kind of coolant box there where the heat exchanger is, and that is just going to get in the way of everything. So even that looks quite tight. Once I've removed these hoses, the anti-siphon valve is, then I can squeeze in there and try and work on the prop shaft seal, which apparently is leaking somewhat. So I need to take some photos of that and send it off to an engineer to see what he makes of it. This is what I look like from the R facing forward. This is not an easy location, but it has enabled me to get a degree of access to the prop shaft seal and the gearbox, and well, just about to the coolant box where the exhaust coolant flushes out through the back. So, and that's the other job I have to do, is I need to replace that hose there. So I've just removed these hoses out of the way, and I've just started to just got to remove this from the pellet. I'm doing this one-handed again. It's not good. There we go. Awesome. Right, now I've got to do the one. So that's the hose. Got that out. It was covered in bilge juice. Get a new piece of hose. I'll take the existing length there, and then I know exactly how much I need. It's about 1 meter, I think. So the other thing I need to try and do is get to the exhaust hose and remove it, which is going to be more of an issue. I think I might as well, given the thought, I might as well replace both for safe measure, because if one's rusty and the other one's more than likely rusty as well. So I've just opened up the access hatch on the aft end to get to the back end of the main engine exhaust hose. I've got a well, what is that? A gate valve, which on the exhaust system, which you're sort of supposed to have, because it's if you're ever in a sea state, it's a good idea to shut that in to stop the engine from flooding. I don't know how good it is. I don't know if I can ever move that, but the big thing is that I can get to the end of the hose without having to go all the way into the bulkhead fitting where it goes through the hull. So I mean, these are pretty rusty, and that one just fell off. So yeah, that was probably just as well that I've opened that up to have a look. Looks like it's been on there a long time. You can see there, this is bad. Not a very nice looking thing at all. The issue that I've got now is I just cannot get to the clips where it comes out of the water box. So what I think I'm going to have to do is, I can get to the bolt which connects the box to the hull, so I'm going to have to undo that, and then yeah, it's this one here. So it's just the hose as it comes out of the water lock, and then up to the fitting. So the aft end is clear, and then I just cannot. I've tried to go in through that locker up there, but I'm going to end up giving myself a banging headache if I come in, and I probably won't be able to lift myself out again. But I can get to that nut there, so I'll undo that and then drag the hose either up through there, or I can pull it forward sort of more this way, and then I can undo the hose clips. Okay, so I just removed the bolt on there, but there is another one on the far side, so I'm going to have to, I've got no choice now, I've got to get right up there to disconnect the hose on there. By the time I'm up that way, then my feet are literally just going to be about here. Okay, so I've managed to free that up. That's just popped off. I just want to try and save the clip if possible. To pull up from the port side locker, there was just a cable tie wrapped around it, so I thought I might be able to pull out from there. So luckily that's been successful. I've been able to pull that away from the water lock. Not an easy task. So I just want to save that and then pull that up through the aft end, and then I can gauge how much hose we actually need to replace. There it is. Very rusty section of exhaust hose. Now that's where the box was. Thankfully the clip hasn't fallen off. I can get to it when it's down there. More interestingly, I can now actually see what's going on with this. It's horrible. Not good. That is crackers. Well, this section's actually not too bad straight off the engine, but this section's awful. I don't think it's been replaced in ages. So I've got a bit of detail there. 51mm. So there we go. The exhaust pipe is all out. It is on deck, and I've already got some on order and just got in contact with. So yeah, you can just see I've just been trying to get to the PSS seal as well. Just trying to see how I'm going to sort that out, because that's the next job. I've coated the coupling in fogging oil even. I've got to undo that, shift the prop shaft back. I don't have to obviously undo the stuffing gland, that thing there, and then I can push the whole assembly back. At the same time, I think I'm going to drill a little hole in this and stick a hatch in. Really don't want to, but if I have to come and tend to the new stone gland, I do not want to be here doing it, if you know what I mean. Got to remove this water tank, this exhaust water lock thing, to remove that so I can get access as well. So all of that is just as important, to be fair. I've tried one more time to try and get access to the water lock, to try and undo the screw on that to get access to the seal, the prop shaft seal, but from inside it's pretty impossible for me. I've crawled in there, I've literally like gone down to my t-shirt and tried to crawl in there, and it's not happening. So I've got no choice. I'm gonna have to fit this hatch directly over the top of the cockpit. I really don't want to do, to be honest. Keep the opening as small as possible. So I'm going to try with the multi-tool first, see how I get on with that. Obviously just I'm going to put this on the floor and just mark it up. I think we're about there. Obviously I'll mark up centre and all the rest of it, but we're about there and directly above the area we want to be, or I want to be working with. So I've had this in the garage for quite a while actually, and intended for it to be installed on a previous boat, but I never actually got around to it. It's got 800, so we've got 400 there. Right, there we go. So I don't want to do this. Did I tell you I don't want to do this? Really don't. I 100% don't want to do this. Okay, so if you go and buy a multi-tool, don't go and buy the crap bits, because you'll spend about 300 years longer doing your job. Go. Oh, I can actually see some of what I'm doing. Right, so there we go. There's the water lock. Ah, the joys of boat ownership. So there it is. Finally got it out. What is interesting is this. If I wiggle that around, that is buggered. Oh dear. Okay, so I'm at the stage where I'm just undoing the prop shaft coupling. What I need to do now, probably disconnect that when I can free this up, slip the shaft backwards through the hole, and then I can try and remove some of this. Right, so I have unfastened the 3, well actually there's 6 in total, screw heads from the coupling, and shifted the seal as far forward as I can. And what I'm going to do now is go outside around to the prop, and I can actually move it back without taking the prop off. If I swing the right way around, I can shift it back. So that didn't work, but it is coming. Bloody hell. And now I can just take the prop sealers out. Oh wow. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go outside and take this out and inspect the cutlass bearing and give this a clean up. Ooh. So I've been able to do this without removing the prop, which is good, and I'm pleased with that. I'll just remove that out now. And wait, and check for any scores and stuff in the prop shaft. So there's that. Look at the cutlass bearing, there we go. That's the cutlass bearing. Wonderful. So I'm not using any chemical cleaning agents on the prop shaft, just some sort of detergent liquid. I didn't want any effect of that on the cutlass bearing. I have heard that it can dissolve the rubber. A bit of wet and dry. And, clear up some of these stress points. Good. Right, put that in there. Let's go put this on. The new one, and then undo this. Got your little kit there. I'm just going to check to see, make sure that that fits properly, and as it should. It's starting to rain again. Lovely. First things first, make sure that the dry seal hasn't taken on any damage, which is good. Doesn't look like it has. So I wanted to make sure that the bellows actually sat over the stern tube. I knew roughly what the size was given by the drawings from the Nicholson site. However, I just wanted to make double sure, and if it was any smaller or larger, I could take it back and swap it out. It is come right down. Oh, that don't feel good. You feel it's wind's coming up from the north now, and that's where it's going to stay until tomorrow. So there you go. That's as far as I'm going to get to today, I think. Whoa! And then yeah, just put that coupling back, I think. Not sure I'm going to do anything with that, to be honest. I might just take it home and give it a bit of a paint and a bit of a clean up. I think that might be a wise idea. It's looking a bit rusty. But yeah, and I need some copper slip for the bolts as I put them back.
to torque them up so it's just help with the friction. But the next thing on that dry seal is there's a little metal coupling just in there, and yes, to set that back and then yeah, push that into position. But it's a little bit critical how you do that, to be honest, because there's two little O-rings in there, and that bellows needs to be sort of compressed, if you like, so that there's a seal to form between the graphite seal and that that stainless coupling. Right, back on board and let's carry on with this job. Thankfully it's not blowing an absolute hoot today. So job today is get this prop shaft in place and the prop shaft seal on. I'm going to get a bit more light down there today just so I can cover this on the video, so if anyone wants to use this as like an installation guide, then good on them. Yeah, had this painted up a little bit, just sanded it back. That's actually radiator spray paint, so yeah, hopefully last a little while. I was looking at replacing that, but they're about 100 quid and I can't really see the point. I mean, it's not exactly in the worst condition. Right, so today gonna be prop shaft recoupling day and then setting up the PSS seal. I've got some of this stuff which is like an anti-corrosive jointing compound. What my concern is that is a stainless steel shaft, prop shaft, and this obviously, like, well, it's just a steel prop coupling. So when you put that stainless into that prop coupling, that's gonna be sort of like a dissimilar metal thing, which is probably the reason why these things are such a pain in the neck to actually get off, because sometimes you get the corrosion between the two metals. So what I'm hoping is that by putting a bit of this stuff over the area at the end of the shaft where that coupler is going to go, it's going to prevent that from happening. So, and you can use this stuff on any you know, rivets and stuff which are like a dissimilar metal. So gonna put some of that on and then position the coupler onto the end of the shaft, tighten it up, and then reconnect it onto the gear flange there. Make sure they're in decent condition, and obviously we're not using any oil for this, we're just using ferry liquid, because the O-ring seals can or they will deteriorate if you use oil, a base lubrication for this.
So it's a little bit of a squeeze here because I haven't got an awful lot of space between the stainless section of the PSS seal and the engine coupler. So it's kind of just like a little bit of a jiffle there, and I was aware that the coupler had obviously the anti-corrosion paste on it, and I was really keen not to get that anywhere near to where the stainless section of the PSS seal was. Didn't want to get that mixed up with the O-rings or anything like that, but I needed enough space to get the coupler actually on, which meant sort of bringing the prop shaft back a little bit. You can see there I'm just struggling to get the coupler back onto the bolts, but I had to push that back a bit further. But it's a bit of a to and fro to me to you moment. Right. Eventually I managed to get things where I needed them. Honestly, if I would never have been able to get this job done without that hatch being cut in to the deck.
I'm gonna do.
I'm pretty sure that any work to this area was done with the engine out, which isn't exactly a good thing. If ever I had a problem with the PSS Seal at sea, I would have not been able to work on this at all.
Right, that's now the shaft is all the way into the coupling. The coupling's in position, and I just need to now position that over the top of the graphite seal. So I'm just gonna, I mean, it did take a lot. That is in there good and proper now, so I can move that up and seal it, face of the seal. Now that's in the sat position, so it's just touching the graphite seal. So now the next thing, before we start my compressing this bellows, is to mark a position on the prop shaft there. But first I'm going to tighten all this up, just so that prop shaft doesn't move too much.
So according to the instructions, let's have a look. So there we go, there's the compression chart. So if you've got anything between a 3/4 inch and a 1 3/8 inch prop shaft, or a 20mm to 35mm shaft, the compression amount needs to be 3/4 of an inch, 20mm. So what I'll do is I'll mark up on the prop and where it's in the sat position, and then I'll compress it, and then I'll put the grub screws in to secure that stainless coupler to you know, keep that compression on the bellows, if you like.
Right, so I've got my little marker pen, just going to make a little marker there. I need to position the grub screws. So there's no Loctite on the first two, but the two screws that follow these to back them up, you need Loctite for. So I'm just going to wind these in until it touches, and then I know it's not far off the. That's actually quite a fair way in there, to be fair. Just move this around for a bit of a better scoop, and then right there. So they're not far off there. So now just need to push that back. So it's only going to move 3/4 of an inch back, which is really not that much, to be honest.
So this was a slightly tricky bit, is forming enough compression on the bellows and then holding it in place while the grub screws are tightened. It took me a couple of goes to actually get the compression to where I needed it to be, 3/4 of an inch. I think the first time was about half an inch.
Half an inch.
And then I think the second time was just over half an inch, and then eventually it was 3/4. But if you look at the bellows there, it's pretty well compressed there. I feel like a Michelin man, to be fair.
I'm bang on 3/4 of an inch there. So I'm going to tighten these up now. And that is all there is to it. What some people do is they don't just rely on these grub screws. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a clip here. I'm going to put a clip to maintain this seal, because these little grub screws, there's a lot of pressure on this fitting, pushing it that way. There's quite a lot of spring in that bellows.
These are so fiddly, and when you've got the thread lock over it, it's just like a bit much. There we go.
So there's a little bit of tension on those grub screws, but you don't need to fasten them down too well. They are just backing screws, not like the first ones. So there we go. That is, apart from the water hose, obviously, that is complete. I'll have to just check, obviously, when she goes into water, the first thing to check as soon as she starts to float again is just checking that seal, make sure that there's a good face on there and they're mated nicely. But the last thing I'm going to have to do is just put a clip just to secure that seal from sliding all the way back, because that would be once fully at the extended position where I first marked up. If it was to slide back to that, then the water's just going to pile in around the sealing face if it's not compressed. So that is the last thing I am going to do. The instructions don't state you have to do that, but it's kind of looks like a backup, a bit of a safety measure really, and it's a bit of peace of mind. Just have that in there. So we've got to tidy up, and I'm still waiting for my exhaust hose to arrive, so I'll get that in at some point, maybe over Christmas. I'm not sure yet. We're only sort of like 9 days away from Christmas now, so and I've got a little bit of time off over Christmas and New Year, so hopefully get a few more jobs done.